So by only being impeached for obstruction of justice and abuse of power, is Donald Trump being let off easy? Or for that matter, are we even ratifying future presidents doing some of his more obnoxious behaviors like paying off porn stars before elections? Check it out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Going through this list of Walter Schaub, the former director of the Office of Government Ethics, soliciting foreign attacks on our elections, using federally appropriated money to do so, to win re-election, across-the-board refusal to comply with congressional oversight, firing the heads of the government's top law enforcement agencies because they allowed an investigation of the president, retaliating against whistleblowers, investigating investigators who investigated the president, attempting to award the president's own company, federal contracts, using personal devices, servers, or applications for office communications, communicating secretly with foreign leaders and foreign governments, things that even our own government didn't know about or didn't want known, abandoning allies, destroying or concealing records, expressing empathy for white nationalists, covering up for the murder of a journalist, violating human rights and international law at our border, operating a supposed charity, lying incessantly to the American people, relentlessly attacking the free press, spending 1/4 of all his days in office visiting his own golf course, 1/3 of all his days in office visiting his private businesses, violating the emoluments clause, giving security clearance to his children and abusing the process, drawing down on government's efforts to combat domestic terrorism, refusing to investigate and build defenses against interference in our elections, a documented campaign of obstruction of the special counsel, lying about a hush money payoff, refusing to fire a repeat Hatch Act offender, calling members of Congress names and accusing them of treason for simply conducting oversight, attacking states and private citizens frequently and in terms that demean the president. By the way, that's one of the things Andrew Johnson was impeached for, using the presidency to tout his own private business, causing the federal government to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at his businesses, over $100 million on boondoggle trips to visit his properties, hosting foreign leaders at his private businesses, calling on the Justice Department to investigate political rivals, in nepotism, and supporting authoritarian leaders around the world. So that was Walter Schaub's list. Here's the actual list. This is from the impeachment articles that were dropped this morning. And I quote, this is from Article 1, Abuse of Power. Using the powers of his high office, President Trump solicited the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 United States presidential election. He did so through a scheme or course of conduct that included soliciting the government of Ukraine to publicly announce investigations that would benefit his re-election, harm the election prospects of a political opponent, and influence the 2020 United States presidential election to his advantage. President Trump also sought to pressure the government of Ukraine to take these steps by conditioning official United States government acts of significant value to Ukraine on its public announcement of the investigations. President Trump engaged in this scheme or course of conduct for corrupt purposes in pursuit of personal political benefit. In doing so, President Trump used the powers of the presidency in a manner that compromised the national security of the United States and undermined the integrity of the United States democratic processes. He thus ignored and injured the interests of the nation. And then, they go through and break it out exactly what each one of those things were. And then they summarize, in all of this, President Trump abused the powers of the presidency by ignoring and injuring national security and other vital national interests to obtain an improper personal political benefit. He also betrayed the nation by abusing his high office to enlist a foreign power in corrupting democratic elections. And then Article 2, Obstruction of Congress. It reads, Donald J. Trump has directed the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of subpoenas issued by the House of Representatives pursuant to its, quote, sole power of impeachment. President Trump has abused the powers of the presidency in a manner offensive to and subversive of the Constitution. In response, and then they enumerate exactly how he did that. And then they say, in response, without lawful cause or excuse, President Trump directed executive branch agencies, offices, and officials not to comply with these subpoenas. President Trump thus interposed the powers of the presidency against the lawful subpoenas of the House of Representatives and assumed to himself functions and judgments necessary to the exercise of the sole power of impeachment. That's a phrase from the Constitution. It says the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment vested by the Constitution in the House of Representatives. And then they break out exactly what he did in order to accomplish that, and the names of the people that he said not to do it. And then it's only 8 pages long. And then in all of this, you know, this I mean, this is pretty incredible. The last couple paragraphs. Through these actions, President Trump sought to arrogate to himself, in other words, to seize for himself, the right to determine the propriety, scope, and nature of an impeachment inquiry into his own conduct, as well as the unilateral prerogative to deny any and all information to the House of Representatives in the exercise of its sole power of impeachment. In the history of the Republic, no president has ever ordered the complete defiance of an impeachment inquiry or sought to obstruct and impede so comprehensively the ability of the House of Representatives to investigate high crimes and misdemeanors. This abuse of office served to cover up the president's own repeated misconduct and to seize and control the power of impeachment, and thus to nullify a vital constitutional safeguard vested solely in the House of Representatives. In all of this, President Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice, and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore, President Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. So there you have it. And I think you know my opinion of all this now. Let's see what yours are.